We've got Chris. Do you want to hit the breaking news? I guess this is still kind of counts as breaking news. Chris, can you hit the breaking news for me? Do we have?
When it breaks,
we have it first.
It's Sactown Sports breaking news.
According to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, free agent center Nerlens Noel has signed a 1-year, $3.1 million deal with the Sacramento Kings.
Whoa!
Nerlens Noel, a player that it's been talked about a lot through the years here in Sacramento as a defensive-minded, center. Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. Definitely wasn't expecting the Kings to make any moves for center. It's been talked about a lot how the Kings have kind of punted on that position in free agency here, bringing back Alex Len, bringing back Trey Lyles. I don't hate it. I would have liked it a lot more. I would have liked it a lot more like 3 years ago.
Sure. I love it because it's not going to cost you much. He's a guy with a lot to prove. That's the poor guy that ended up firing his agent.
It is.
Or suing his agent.
Yeah, because he was told that he was going to get a big contract heading out of Dallas, and I believe
found out that his agent
offers.
was negligent, I think. They weren't even working on it.
Right. Love that.
Yeah.
So
he won his suit, and I think he ended up having to pay some fees that he had withheld, but he won his case. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that happening because he was supposed to sign a fairly big deal with, I think it was with Dallas. And then after that, just never really found footing. Looking at Nerlens' numbers here, really hasn't been very productive since 2020, really. He spent a season with the Oklahoma City Thunder, played 61 games, started in 7 of them, played 18 minutes, averaged 7 and 5 with a block and a half per game. The following season played with the Knicks, started 41 of the half the games that season, averaged 5 points, 6 rebounds, 2.2 blocks. But really, these last 3 years have been really tough for Nerlens, not even averaging over 4 points per game these last 3 seasons. He's coming in to be a defender, and the Kings definitely need that. Especially rim protection at the center position. In his time was a very mobile guy. Is definitely really skinny, really thin. So isn't going to help you much in terms of banging around with some of the bigger guys in the league, but definitely provides some weak side rim protection. I
like it.
It's a fine fit. I think it's fine. I'm curious where on the depth chart. I wonder if we see him before we see Alex Len. I think it's a fine signing. Like you said, very low risk, so it's not the biggest deal.
He was part of the process because Philly drafted him. 2013 with the number 6 pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was supposed to be even higher pick than that. He was coming into college at Kentucky. He was a number 1 recruit, and it was all right. Who's going to get Nerlens Noel? And then, in his season at Kentucky, you kind of saw he just he's not very skilled. He doesn't really have any post moves. He's kind of pretty much just a rim runner. And, I mentioned his weight. He's not very physical. So it's really tough to kind of have him bang around with some of the bigs in this league. And he's able to provide some spot minutes, which I think is perfect because that was the problem with a guy like Brook Lopez is he wasn't going to, or Mason Plumlee, he wasn't going to come here and just accept a significantly smaller role than what he could get somewhere else. Nerlens is a perfect fit in the sense of he knows that his role isn't going to be very big, and any minutes he gets, I'm sure he's going to take that opportunity and run with it, but he's not going to be someone who's going to be questioning why he's not playing 20 minutes a night.
I'm sorry. Did you say a dollar amount? Did we have one?
$3.1 million. So that's, okay, I think, a little barely over than the vet minimum.
Yeah. I like it. I don't see a lot of downside.
Exactly.
And he's a guy who can address one of your needs. And he's a guy who's certainly motivated to prove he still belongs in the league.
Sure.
I like it a lot. I'm not saying, this is it.
Right.
Kings win 60 games now, but I'm saying that's a solid move with a lot of potential upside, not a lot of downside.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just there's really not much of any downside at all. If you don't play him, it's $3.1 million. It's whatever. You can cut him if you want. You can keep him on the roster if he's a good locker room guy. But it's a very low risk, minimal reward kind of guy. But I think does
that mean I can trade Alex Len now for
it? In theory, does kind of make Alex Len a little replaceable if they feel like he is, if they don't like what they've gotten out of Alex Len from the training camp or from the time they see him in the season, In theory, yeah, I think Nerlens could be a guy who slots into, I think if things go really well for him, he could be the backup center moving forward. He's still a young guy, only 29 years old. Is going to be somebody who probably still has a little spring left in his legs. But, the good news is I take this as good news. Scoring is not his forte. The Kings don't need anybody who's going to score. So if he can just come in and try and do all of the other things that come along with basketball, to me, that's where he can really impact the game. And that's where he can find consistent minutes and a consistent role. He can provide rim protection. If he can play on the perimeter defensively still, that's really helpful to this Kings team.
Christopher Lott, if you would please grade for me 0 to 10, 10 the best, 0 nothing, his 2 nicknames in Basketball Reference. Nerlens Noel, he has 2. The first one, the Eraser.
I'll give that a 4.
His second one, the Nerlin Wall.
Okay,
that's pretty solid.
As he said that, I'm like, but it's starting to grow on me. I like that. I like it. I'm gonna give that an 8.
It's a little dated.
Pretty solid. It's pretty solid. I like the Nerlens Wall. The Nerlin Wall.
Nerlin Wall. Yeah,
I like
it's
it.
A little dated.
Just a little. Just a little bit past reverend
thing anymore.
Was he
the Berlin Wall?
Yeah. It's fine nickname. What I'm looking at here, steals and blocks, so stocks, if you will, career wise. Even when he hasn't gotten many blocks, like the past 3 years, 0.6 blocks, 0.6 blocks, 0.3 blocks the last 3 years, still has managed to get really good steals numbers, 0.9 steals, 0.9 steals, and then 1 steal last season. I just think that this guy is somebody who's going to come in on the defensive end and make an impact. And Whitey, I think we finally can get somebody. We can finally say the Kings have made some sort of personnel improvement on the defensive end.
Yes,
finally,
I agree.
Finally, we have an answer.
Look at if you have a second when he was really playing well. Look at his offensive and defensive ratings. Don't look at the last couple of years.
Gotcha.
Go look at those. But when he was actually playing, so yeah, more on the newest King, Nerlens Noel, and we'll get to the rival, divisional rival of the Kings. It has a kind of an iffy plan at point guard. That more next. Whitey and Watkins, Sactown Sports.